Good evening, guys. Friday night, who needs a drink? How are you all? What is up? What are you drinking? Are you having a smoke with that drink? Are you just staying off the booze and doing some tea or coffee? Are you taking it light today? Is it too early where you are to be drinking? It's 10 p.m. here in Venice, Italy, on the lagoon. On the isola, as they say, the island. You can live in Venice and not live on the island of Venice. You could be living in Mestre, in Mira, in Mirano, not Murano, but Mirano, and other places. A lot of people do, and they travel to the city. They travel across, they take the train over, they drive over, and come work in a restaurant or whatever over here, you know. There are very few who still live in the city. A lot of old people just lived here all their life, and the idea of moving is not something on their cards. And sorry, I'm setting my watch here. Setting the old speedy. And then there's people like me, assholes who move into the town and pay top dollar for the privilege of living in this wonderland. And we're a bit of a nuisance, you know. I'm guilty. I'm guilty, Robert. I can't look into another's eyes and see the same look I see in August. It is too much. I cannot bear it. What's that from? I'm going to have a Magnum 54. H. Oopman. Focus, focus, focus. There it is. H. Oopman, Magnum 54. Big beauty. It's a beautiful thing. What are other quotes from that movie? Well, from that scene, yeah. He goes, "Who do you think will continue this place? Do you plan to live forever? Why send her? She's blind. She's more capable than most in this village. And she's driven by love." Know the film yet? Let's get this cigar going. Currently, there's madness unfolding in the Middle East. I have it up on another screen here. Lordy Moses. I gotta say, they definitely they live up to the trope, right? The old classic trope of being the most whiny on the bloody street in the neighborhood. It's like, my God, I live for such a small country. Boy, did they make some noise. Squeaky wheels get the most oil. Fucking hell. Oh my God. But yes, strikes on Iran, and then Iran naturally strikes back. What do you fucking expect? Expect them to sit there and take it? I don't think so. Let me see. Anybody get the movie? DJ. €22.56. That's an interesting super chat. Thank you for that. Another for another Venice walkabout or a Lido walkabout. Sure, I'll do more. The weather's better. Weather's great. In fact, it's pretty damn hot. I'll be doing some. In Vacanza, got the village. You got it, man. That was the movie. M. Night Shyamalan, The Village. Often overlooked, unfortunately. TEE, Iron Dome failed. Well, it didn't fail. It's just they're catching a lot of the missiles. They're just not catching them all. And I assume Iran know that that's what they have to do. They have to bombard, and they send 100 missiles, and they can assume that 50 or 60 of them are going to get intercepted, and the others might make it through. I was not expecting them to respond so fast because Israel took out a lot of their leaders, their head figures. And, usually when you do that, the people you've attacked have to kind of get together and regroup, and decision makers have to be replaced by their next in line, their understudy, as it were. The understudy. And so my best guess was like, well, it'll be a week or two, but they're definitely going to respond. Instead, no, straight in on the job. RP, $19.65. Cheers, Negroni. Woke up needing one this morning. Are you drinking a Negroni in the morning? Oh, RP, don't do that to yourself. I've been there, brother. I went through a period of that kind of drinking a very long time ago, and you're self-medicating. I mean, maybe you're having the time of your life, and good for you. That's fine. But I was self-medicating, I can tell you. I was doing a Nicolas Cage Leaving Las Vegas. Pretty brutal. Lucky to get out of that, actually. Lucky to come out on the other side. And hopefully twice the man for it. Trisonergy, am I the only one sipping water? You might be. A lot of folks look forward to this. Earlier on, Kieran in the WhatsApp group was trying to pick out a wine for this evening. Kieran's over there in beautiful Galway on the west coast of Ireland, where the world ends. And he had some decoy in front of him, the second wine from Duckhorn. He had a cab from Paso Robles and a Pinot from Sonoma County. He was wondering which one. I was like, that's like comparing a Speedy to a Sub. They're both good in different ways, very different creatures. Aria, seems like everyone has gone mad. Well, he's been gumming at this, chomping at the bit for attacking Iran. He was all for it for a long time. 1992, I think, is when Netanyahu started that. Iran are only weeks from a bomb. That was in 1992. We must attack them. My hope always was that Iran would build a bomb, that they would successfully build one, because that shuts everyone up. then all the yelling and squabbling stops. You know what I mean? If you're the only guy in the street with a gun, you can go around and bully people. But when someone else pulls out their gun and goes, "Hey, I got one too," then we have an even playing field, don't we? Once you're part of that team, whatever, that club is the word I'm looking for. People tend to be a little nicer to you. So I was always of the opinion they better make one soon, as soon as possible, before Israel blow the shit out of them, you know? The Ayatollah Khamenei is quite often misquoted. People in the West often say that he wants Israel wiped off the map. He never said any such thing. He said that the mistake of the Zionist project should be erased from the history books. Not a nice phrase if you're an Israeli either, but not the same as wiped off the map. As in, it should be undone. The injustice should be undone. But as usual, just like the river to the sea thing, it's taken as a, they want to kill us. Everybody wants to kill us. Everyone hates us. I wonder fucking why. Ray, big fella. I'm in the local. You're back on the sauce. I thought you were kind of joking, Ray. Back on the gargle. What happened there? Did you lose your wit? Where you're just like, fuck, I can't do this anymore. 8 pints in and pissing rain here. It will pass. Yeah, I'd stay in the pub. Don't hit the hard stuff, will you? I don't want you punching anybody. Stick to the pints. It's a good idea. And that way you keep getting up and going to the restroom and stuff like that. It kind of keeps you walking, moving around. A nice cool pint of Guinness is a lovely thing in the summer, I have to say. I'm often partial to one. Even here, where I can't really find excellent Guinness, but half decent in the Irish pub here, there's one on Strada Nuova. That's a funny thing about the Irish. You know, we went all around the world. We emigrated. We're the immigrants of the world. And nobody complains. Because we brought our booze, you know, and we're white. So nobody complains about it. I was recently in a conversation with some guys on a different stream. One chap, very, very smart guy, threw an odd one, kind of curveball at me. Did the old, you know, they come over here and don't integrate and don't learn our language and you know, don't try to assimilate our environment. He's British. I'm like, well, that sounds like someone I know. Bringing your culture and your ways, your realm, your crown across the other seas, arriving uninvited on people's shores and literally ramming it down people's throats. Like, maybe they learned it from you. But the truth is, we want other people to come and bring their cool culture, right? That's what we want. You know, how boring would it be if in the United Kingdom all you could get was chips and eggs and a cup of tea, you know? The past few times I've been there, a few years have gone by now at this point, but I ate incredible food. Oh my God. And I was brought over by a friend to a different side of London. I don't know areas of London well. But it was like we were in the car for easily 40 minutes. I was staying over on the fancy side, you know, over near, you know, the Grosvenor Hotel and all that because of the watch fares that were on there. We drove her over to a completely different side and we went to a Turkish restaurant because he's Turkish and he just ordered everything. And man, oh man, it was good. Wow. You want that. I mean, the Irish are awful too. Like, we go over to the States and open an Irish pub. It's the first thing we do. I used to meet Irish people. We used to play at every Irish bar in New York and the surrounding area. Every single Irish bar to be found. We'd be playing a gig, covers when we first went to the States. It was a good way to pay the rent. So we saw every shithole. My God, it was super depressing. And wow, there was one place over in a place called Woodside. There's a place called Sunnyside and adjacent to it, Woodside in Queens, New York. And that's pretty much the end of the earth. It's where civilization comes to a stop. And there's a fucking Irish bar next to another Irish bar, next to another Irish bar. We were in this big place playing a gig. People were getting in fights at the bar. Girls were trying to see if their fellow was jealous enough to punch the other dude. So girls were deliberately being flirty with other guys to see if their boyfriend would punch the other guy, just start a fight. All of this kind of crap. One time a guy got ejected from the place by security, and he decided he would go off and get his mates and come back and smash the windows on our stage, if you could call it that. Little place where we were standing there playing was right by the window, and I felt all the glass come over my back, the back of my head. Security went out, and the locals beat the living shit out of those guys. It was fucking nuts. But I remember, like, the noise inside the play, we'd stop and we'd have 2 sets or sometimes 3 sets to play. We'd be there all fucking night for like a few $100. It was miserable. And that's where you start, guys. You have to start at the bottom. But between sets, they'd put on this fucking loud music and rave music and horseshit. And I was just like, I wasn't even a big drinker back then. And no, I'll just have a Coke or whatever, Or I'd get a beer and just not even drink it. I didn't get into drinking for a while. But anyway, I remember walking out just to get out of that smokiness. It was back when they were still smoking inside pubs in New York. And the noise, I have to go out. And I'd step out, and the fucking 7 train is going overhead, screeching, those wheels screeching against metal as it takes its turns overhead, and traffic everywhere. And I'm like, oh my God, this is worse than it was inside. I didn't know where to go. I was trapped. God damn it. TEE, $5. I'm having a pouch of Zin right now. Ordered Tucker Carlson version of his brand ALP. Wow. Does he have a brand? Didn't know. He's a businessman. Robert Lewis, £10. No question there, man. Yeah, so there's no real onus on anyone if you move to another country to integrate. This came up with Dirk as well in the iBashers a couple of months ago. He's like, well, look, you moved to Italy and you know the language and you eat their food and you've integrated. And I'm like, that's just because that's what I like to do. But you don't have to do that. In fact, most people don't do that. And that's what makes countries interesting, because then a culture is built from a large color palette, different colors mixed together. That's how you wind up with a culture. And cultures are evolving things. They're not stagnant. I'm a fucking wasp. Isn't that great? You're going to have to go, my friend. Because you're going to drive me nuts. It's this light here that's attracting all and sundry. Anyway, yeah, Dirk mentioned it as well. Because he's annoyed because he has a horrible landlord and she's a evil bitch. And making their life miserable there in Long Island City, New York. And he's like, you know, these Chinese, they come over and they buy up all the land. And I'm thinking, yeah, he's Irish American. Like, the Irish went over and bought all the land too. Everyone, unless your name is Sitting Bull, I don't know if you get to complain about people coming over and bringing their culture with them, you know. You don't really get to say that stuff. Right. And this week, of course, there were riots in Northern Ireland, basically just racist riots. There's crime like that all the time up there, but nobody's rioting until it's two brown guys. So you have loyalist British, essentially British loyalists, people in Northern Ireland who consider themselves British, Orange, the Orange Gang, William of Orange. You have basically Brits living on Irish soil telling foreigners to get out. It's like, wow. Wow. If you ever have any thoughts, if you're from the UK, you ever have any thoughts about integration and assimilating the culture of the place you've moved to, grab a Ryanair flight real quick to Benidorm, Spain. Spend a weekend in Benidorm. All you'll hear is British accents and English. I mean, you might hear uno bacon sandwich, por favor, you know, or something like that in the store. It's just packed full of Brits who do not care about the fucking local culture. You think Paul Thorpe and the likes of him are listening to Rosetta Stone in the car and getting up in the morning and making a coffee and sitting there studying the local culture and the history of the local towns and how to pronounce all those towns correctly and speak the language? You think he's ordering tapas, eating raw fish? It's so fuck's sake. He's having egg and chips. It break. So, anyway, getting back to what's going on in the Middle East, what's happening? Let me check Al Jazeera. More strikes. Like either one is going to back down. I mean, certainly the antagonist isn't going to. So Iran don't really have a whole lot of choice but to just hit back, right? Are they going to keep showing us the same thing on repeat over and over again? The same missile coming down on the street. Looks pretty small, honestly. God damn it. This is crazy. Trying to start World War III, these motherfuckers. I swear to God. I was watching it earlier, and it's Al Jazeera on YouTube, so you can imagine the comments. There's a lot of people rooting for Iran, even in the West. Wasn't that bad a couple of years ago, but since we've been witness to what they were up to, what they're capable of. Yeah, there was an emergency assembly The UN last minute that Iran called. There were supposed to be talks this Sunday. There were finally supposed to be talks about proliferation. You think they're going to happen now? I don't think so. I don't think Bibi wanted the talks to happen. I don't think he wanted Trump to somehow score some sort of diplomacy with them. He's got too much of a hard on for blowing that place up. So I think he did this straight off because he's like, nah, fuck that. Oh man, this fucking wasp is still around. Are you a Mossad wasp? Are you a Mossad drone? You know, they have tiny drones that look like flies now. He flew in my window. He mustn't be very comfortable with all this smoke in here. Can he not find his way out? Anyway, what's going on? They just want diplomacy. They want peace. Of course, there was an accord in place, a non-proliferation agreement in place, but you know who tore it up. You know, nuclear energy is fantastic. It's very, very high yield. They don't build nuclear plants, energy plants, for the fun of it. They do it because it's extremely wet. As long as you keep it contained, don't turn it into Chernobyl. It's very clean and very efficient and very fruitful. And all large developed countries should be allowed have their own nuclear plants to, help their country excel. Problem with that is once you're into proliferation, you're also into bomb territory, aren't you? Oh, look at that. That's what Israelis look like when they're running from danger. Grabbing the kids, holding their hands, walking down the street. Has a massive contrast to Gaza. People holding their child's hand, and there's nothing at the end of the arm. There's no body at the end of the child's arm. It's just a child's arm in their hand. Because it got blown up. Little bit of damage there. Rob Morrison, €10. Well, foreigners who've been in Northern Ireland since the 17th century. Well, sure. Well, are we talking about shelf life here? Is that a thing? Just saying. AP, you're right. Iran should have built. Well, they were trying. Give this guy something to think about before they let their. Yeah, exactly. But like, not to fire it at anyone. There's a lot of people out there on TikTok and so on who are like, "Fucking do it, Iran. Do it. Flatten the fucking place. Nobody's gonna weep after what we saw they did to those poor people." But I'm not like that. I don't believe in that. And I'm no fucking fan of that place. But I don't believe that. I wouldn't like to see a nuclear, if they had a bomb, to fire it on Israel. And I don't think they would. They're not an aggressor. Iran have never invaded anywhere or attacked anywhere. But they're painted as this mad aggressor. Even this time around. They didn't do this for nothing. This is a response to an action, right? No, but I just think that it ends all the squabbles. It kind of evens the playing field, and I think that's a healthy thing. Everybody starts treating each other with respect. When you've got nukes. When you don't, you can get pushed around and bullied by the bigger guy. which leads to animosity. And then the smaller guy might start doing some smaller covert shit just to give you a few stings, like this wasp might, if he finds his way to my foot or something. Looks pretty confused. But yeah, I wish they had. I really do. Not because I would want them to use it on anyone, but because it's yeah, I already said it. And of course, everything then slowed down. There was Stuxnet years ago. Do you remember that? Stuxnet. I got it on one of my computers. I was like, what is this little bastard? This weird little virus. Brilliantly coded little detonation device. Just spread across the world in hopes that it would find its way onto some laptop or some USB key and get plugged into somewhere beyond the firewall and disrupt their cores for nuclear proliferation in Iran. And it worked. It was successful. All of a sudden, it was the temperature monitors, a little box with a little circuit board in it that would monitor the temperature of the cores. They're surrounded by water that cools them, and they have to raise and lower the temperature all the time to keep the cores at a solid, sustained temperature. Well, this little Stuxnet thing, that was the name we gave it. I can't remember the official name, but we as computer nerds, we called it Stuxnet, and that's what a lot of people refer to it to it today. To it as to today. I can't fucking speak tonight. What's wrong with me? Anyway, and it would basically, it just told the little box to stop reporting or to report erroneous information. So the box was telling the guys in the control center, yes, the temperature is fine around the cores. But actually the temperature wasn't. So it was giving fake readouts, and then the cores started melting down and failing. So it was a successful mission. The problem with it was that the Americans and the Israelis were programming it together. It was a joint operation. And some of the best programmers in the world, you can imagine these American guys working on this beautiful, clean code. Because usually when people who write viruses and send their Trojan horses or whatever and send them out into the world, usually the code is kind of dodgy. It's a little bit guerrilla style with some errors in there. But that was the thing that was fascinating us all about Stuxnet when we all discovered it on our machines years ago. We're like, this is really clean code. This is very lean, professional. It's like the Walter White thing. Someone cooked here. It was like that. And anyway, they were going back and forth. They made 5 different versions. First one was too aggressive. Or no, the first one wasn't effective. Or they didn't think it would be effective. Wasn't aggressive enough. Second one was more aggressive. Third one was better. They were refining before they sent this out, because it's essentially warfare, just cyber warfare, essentially. So before they send it out, they have to know it's going to perform. And they made version 4, and it was just like a crazy aggressive version. But the problem was it was going to leave a big fat trail of shit behind it, and very easy to detect. And then take the source and reprogram it and redirect it back. So they're like, no, we're working on version 5. Version 5 is going to be the one. It's going to be clean. It's going to do its job. and then it's going to delete itself, leaving no trace, and the Iranians will be left scratching their chins going, why did our cores melt? Well, they didn't get to release it yet. And all of a sudden, reports were coming out that Iranian cores were melting. And the Americans were like, who the fuck released version 4? I'm going to give you one guess who released version 4. Think of a little bulldog aggressive place that likes to start a lot of fucking trouble and wouldn't wait for America to give the go ahead. They just fucking released 4, which worked. But then the Iranians couldn't totally trace it. Fuck it. I traced it on my computer. I had Windows 2000 NT and it was infected with Stuxnet. But it was benign because I didn't have a nuclear proliferation center in my back garden. So I wasn't doing anything. It was just confusing why it was there. So then, of course, the Iranians reverse engineered it, didn't they? And sent it back out into the world. If it melted any cores on the American side or British side or French or Israeli side, we never heard. Because that's embarrassing. Fucking unbelievable. Stuxnet. I think there's a documentary was made about it then years later called 0 Days. I think there's a movie called 0 Days as well with De Niro. And ignore that. It was a documentary, I think it was on the BBC years ago. Or Channel 4. And it was all about that whole story. I was sitting there watching it going, holy shit, I have a disc upstairs with that thing on it. That's what it is. I was leaping out of my chair. Ray, 11th pint in. Dude, take it easy. How the fuck can you put them back that fast? Longford women are worse than Mayo women. So in other words, there was a girl at the bar from Longford and you tried to talk to her and she told you to go fuck yourself. Got it. I know a few people from Longford. They're strange. They are a bit weird, I've got to say. I'm not going to argue with that. You're right. Omega fanboy Ian looks like Mossad are doing surveillance on the channel. Why are you getting interruption? DG says the audio and video are fine. And DG would like a wristwatch check. I have the Speedy on, the 1987 145.02. 145.022. With the Holy Grail bracelet. If you know the channel well, you know this watch well. This is the Holy Grail bracelet. Very, very difficult to find. It is very unique because it has half ovals. You see that? They're cut in half. Just like on a day date, a Rolex day date. But of course, Rolex don't make a steel day date. They're all precious metal. So you can only really get this bracelet in precious metal from Rolex. Now, there is the 1171 bracelet from around the same time, and they're full ovals. That's a nice bracelet too. But this is the one that everybody's after, and it has the 808 end links, and they just have a certain charm to them because, as you can see, if I fold them in like that, you see the way they leave a little bit of lug extending? That's a nice vintage look. You will pay up to about $4,000 for just this bracelet alone if you can find it. The watch itself has a long S, long R, also kind of rare. And it has the 861 movement, regarded by many to be the best. The 321, of course, gets all the mentions, but truthfully, the 861 was more reliable. The problem with the column wheel movement was the wheel was coming away from the column. The vertical clutch. And when they made the 861, it was an improved movement. It was more reliable. And it went to space more than the 321. It didn't go to the moon. But then again, no one ever went to the moon. No, I'm kidding. I know there's going to be lots of guys in the audience saying that too. Who fucking knows at this point? But leaving that aside, because that's a whole contentious topic. It didn't allegedly go to the moon, the 861, or it did after on maybe a different mission, but not the famous first one. But it went to space a lot over the years after with the various different missions. So this is a real moon watch, or a space watch, or whatever way you want to say it. It's a good one. If you're getting a Speedy, I don't see why you would buy one of the brand new ones, unless you just wanted something brand new, from the boutique. I think getting a Speedy is all about getting an old one, a vintage one. Otherwise, it's kind of defeating the whole purpose of a Speedy. Cooch, what about Chiara Nardo? Her watch is right here. I've been out filming it the past couple of days. I'm putting together a video. Might have that out over the weekend. Do you want me to put it on? Isn't it beautiful? I'll stick it on. We'll have a battle of the bracelets. How about that? What else do I have? I have the new Seiko, the one we've all been waiting for, that got lost in the mail. It's right here. And I'll eventually show you that. All the guys, all the Zios in the room are like, oh, fuck, now I have to sit around and wait for this and listen to this asshole give his strange leftist woke opinions about the world. Damn. I am your torturer. So that's the oops, got some tobacco. That is the Holy Grail 861. It's called the 1450 bracelet. It's essentially a president bracelet in steel from Omega. And it's very, very pretty. It's one of my favorite bracelets. But let's put on another couple of watches and then we'll do a vote. Maybe I'll do one of those vote things in the chat. I've never done one of those before. So there's the Chiara Nardo. Very pretty watch. It's 42 millimeter, 12 mils thick. It's quite slim. You'll see it in a lot of detail in the coming days because I finally got to put together a decent video, proper detailed video. But it has an amazing bracelet, all sparkly. And lovely minimal design dial. CN Orology. If you're interested in one, let me put that link in the chat. CN Orologio means watch in Italian. And orology is plural of watch. So it's CN for Chiara Nardo and Orology. There's the link if you want to take a look. Some nice ones. Cooch fatigue. Is it for... it might be. You know what? Email me. oshinamalichannel@gmail.com. I kind of love it, though. I was thinking maybe wearing it over the summer because you know what the great thing about this watch is? It's like an Aquaterra. It's the everything watch. You can wear it with a suit and a nice shirt, and it's elegant and sparkly at the restaurant. Or you can wear it with jeans and t-shirt, or you can wear it out and go swimming. You know, it's got 200 meters, and it's kind of a beach watch or a yacht watch. You know, so I was kind of thinking it's kind of an all-rounder. It's definitely the best watch under 2000 that I know of. Maybe some Seikos are in there too, but it's one of the best, and it's very unique looking. Although some people were saying a few weeks ago it was like an Alpine Eagle, a Chopard an Alpine Eagle. Maybe, yeah, it's nice. Southwest Watch UK, where did you do your filming? Venice, man. Where do you think? No, do you mean if I went to the beach or something? No, because I'm doing the main video is actually about the Cartier, about the drive. But I'm just kind of doing the Chiara Nardo as a kind of a support band, you know, support act. Is this fucker talking now? Is he giving some sort of... Oh, no, it's the... Oh, Iran are actually talking. That's fun. Oh, boy. I wonder what's been said over there. Yeah, Cooch. Okay, reach out to me. It will be famous because it'll be part of the video, and you'll see lots of sexy close-ups of it, so you can wear it and go, hey, that's my actual watch right there on the screen. That's fun. I have to say the presentation, this brand, they know how to present their watches so well. Fantastic. The box is like gorgeous. I wish watch brands would put more money. I guess it's hard for micro brands to splurge on fancy boxes, fancy presentation. You know, they already put their heart and soul in every penny they have into their watch design and distribution and advertising. And often you get watches that are just in a little pouch, you know, like I have the Nomadic one here, is a gorgeous one on the NATO. But if I remember correctly, it came in a kind of a military style pouch. It's a cool presentation, but it gives you a feel of micro brand when you get it in a pouch, you know. Whereas when you get it in a big box and you open it as a big fucking wooden, gorgeous lacquered box with wooden interior and all, you really feel like it's like a Patek or or a Mega or something. You know, you get that feeling of importance. But that must cost her so much to produce. Of course, another great summer watch. And let's do bracelet number 3. So that's bracelet number 2. The Chiara Nardo. It's a light box, man. Another great summer watch, of course, would be my watch, Frollo. The Ferro di Prua Venice watch. This thing is 43. This one is big. And it's a big, bright, summery watch. This is the Tiffany one. And it has the... I have to turn the other way, where it has the thing from the gondola, the Ferro di Prua from the front of the gondola on the dial. You can get it in Venetian crimson or Venetian blue or this Tiffany blue. That's a nice bracelet too. Big hefty. This thing is indestructible. I want you to buy one and try to break it. If you break it, you can have it for free. Not really. But if you do break it, I want to see photos. Because I don't think it's a beast. It's basically it's like a deep sea dwellers. 300 meters water resistance. We don't fuck around over here on the Oshinomali channel. There's my products there. OshinoMaliChannel.com. And you can see there's the crimson red and Where's the blue? The blue's nice too. People like the blue too. There's the blue. That one's on the rubber. There's the crimson red on the leather strap. There's blue on the rubber again. And then that's the watch I have on right now. We can't technically call it Tiffany blue because there's a very large brand that own that name, but it's the same. We actually went around to the Tiffany store here and compared the blue just to make sure, because the first ones we got from the manufacturer were a little too dark. I was like, that's not quite it. So all you have to do is walk around to the store and everything in the window is that color. And you're like, oh, there it is. Now we can side by side them. And of course, it has this Ferro di Prua on the front. Very important symbol for Venice. You see them all over Venice. It's a map. It's very ancient. That's how it comes there in a flight case. You see what I mean about micro brands? You know, it's a cool little durable. It's as durable as the goddamn watch is. Try breaking that thing once it's closed. It's amazing. But if you buy it on a leather strap, you get the rubber strap for free, and vice versa. And if you buy it on the bracelet, you get all three. You get the bracelet and the rubber and the leather strap. Because I'm generous. OceanOmalleyChannel.com. So this is bracelet number 3, let's say. Big fucker. I swear to God, this just feels invincible. Often when you have beautiful watches on, like as gorgeous as this Speedy is, it feels delicate. You know, it's from 1987. The bracelet is it's smooth and delicate and has a little vintage rattle going on. It's got the Hesalite with some thumb marks on it. The Hesalite crystal. It has like glass, it's plastic basically, but it has that lovely distortion, refraction effect. But you know, when you're loading the washing machine, or you're doing the dishes, or you're vacuuming or something, you take a watch like this off. Because if it gets knocked against the door or handle or gets a splash of water, you could wind up in trouble. It's not built for those kind of situations. It's like a piece of art at this point. It's for going to space, for crying out loud. There's no water in space. It's a vacuum. Whereas this thing, I'll load all the washing machines in the world. I'll go around to the laundromat and help everybody out. Because I don't care. This is like bang it, prang it, say ta-ta. What's that from? Hire car. It's a hire car, baby. Jonathan Cooper Clark. So what else? Oh boy. So who knows what's going to happen? Is there going to be a nuclear strike? I don't think people will be happy until it's, until he hits them with the bomb. Or he hits one of their centers and it explodes. They said there hasn't been much radioactivity in the area. They haven't picked up any seismic stuff going on. Because that's, of course, the problem when you hit these proliferation plants. You risk turning them into a Chernobyl. All of a sudden everybody around the area starts giving birth to kids with 4 arms. Just having a little bit of shitty tequila. I'm not drinking much lately. I haven't really had much to drink all week. And I feel good. But I can't do tonight without something to sip on. So that's the problem. It's extremely dangerous for the population of Iran. They could wind up a mile or 2 from a gaping wound, plutonium and cesium and all of these things just spilling out into the atmosphere. That shit doesn't go away. Plutonium has a half-life of 250,000 years. It'll still be here when the fucking solar system comes to an end. When our sun explodes, it'll hit a planet with very little on it left, but there'll still be fucking plutonium sitting there. Strontium, that's a killer as well. So that's the risk you run when you shoot a missile at a power plant like that. Very, very dangerous. Of course, Iran have said already that they know where Israel's plants are. Of course, Israel famously have never admitted to having missiles, having bombs. And John F. Kennedy, of course, wanted transparency about that because they discovered Dimona and what was going on in Dimona all the way back in 1963, 1962. And he wanted everyone to sign that accord about nuclear proliferation. And they wanted transparency. He demanded it. But 6 months later, he was dead. If that doesn't tell you something, I don't know what. I do not know. So Iran have already said that they know where all these plants are, which pissed the Israelis off no end, because a strike on one of those could do the same kind of damage as could have happened in the past 24 hours in Iran. They're playing with fire here. It's very serious stuff. What else was there? There was Air India. I contacted my friend who's the pilot who I flew with to New York late last year. I was in the cockpit with him. And obviously he's a bit of an expert because he flies commercial flights every day. Now, the last time there was a tragedy, I think it was the one outside of DC with that helicopter and that relatively small passenger plane. I think it was a 757. And I asked, would he make a comment or come onto the show and we could discuss how this kind of thing could happen, you know, just the ins and outs of the technical side of it. And he said, it's too soon. And we don't do that. As pilots, we don't talk too soon because it's indecorous, you know. They're kind of, think of the responsibility pilots have, all those souls behind them, you know. That's what they called them on a plane, souls. And he was like, listen, you know, we'll talk about it privately. I'll let you know what I think, but I'm not going to go on a public thing. And even with his face blurred out or whatever, he was like, no, I'm not. We don't do that shit. Mind you, there are a couple of pilots on YouTube who have already talked about it. I don't know if they're just chasing the clicks. But I reached out to him again about this, and I said, I understand if it's the same drill, and I assume it is. And I have not heard back from him, which means he's probably on a long haul flight to, you know, Vegas or LA or somewhere long going across the Atlantic. Well, I'm sure you've already all seen the video. I'm kind of into aviation a bit. You know, a bit of a side hobby and that kind of stuff. And so far, the consensus seems to be, I mean, we can't know, and there are plenty of different theories what went wrong. But many, including my friend who's like, yeah, it was the flaps. I was like, is it a loss of power? Did they hit birds? You know, is that 2 engines lost on just after takeoff? And he was like, nah. And usually when that happens, you do see a trail of smoke or sparks or something coming from the engines. We don't see any of that here. and it's normal as well from the audio. He said it's the flaps. There was another guy, a pilot of a 777, and he was saying that what he thinks is, when you take off, and obviously he spoke to many pilots, and this guy's a seasoned pilot. He's flying a 777. It's one of the biggest passenger aircraft in the world. He was talking to other pilots about it and conferring, and they came up with different theories. When you take off, just after takeoff, you hear boom, boom. That's the gear coming up. Because the gear, while it's down, the wheels, while they're down, they create drag. And when you're taking off, especially a large aircraft like that 767 Dreamliner, with a full passenger list, like, the whole plane was packed, over 230 people, I think, and full of fuel. You're the heaviest you're ever going to be in that flight, in that moment, and you need to really put the pedal down and pump it and get the bird into the sky. And things like you don't need the wheels anymore once you come off the tarmac. But apart from that, you can't wait around to take the wheels up, because they create drag. And that's only going to be an extra problem. They're only adding to the problem with that. So they want to get the gear up as soon as possible. And that's usually the co-pilot. He sits on the right. So the captain will be watching everything else and pushing that bird into the sky. And he'll say, gear up. And his co-pilot has to whack that little lever there with the wheel. It pulls the gear up. So that's why you see the wheels go back into the plane very soon after takeoff. Well, the wheels were still down. The gear was still down during that whole video. That's very visible in the video. They're still down. Look at them. And the flaps, it's very difficult to see the flaps, but the flaps don't seem to be down or out, as they say. The flaps are either up or out. And there are flaps on the front of that wing as well as the back of the wing. So he thinks that what happened is the guy, the co-pilot, instead of putting up the gear, he put up the flaps by accident. And the captain didn't see, just saw him motion to his right, the guy moving his hand. He assumed that was gear getting put up. But instead, the flaps were put up. So now he doesn't have enough flaps, because you need to put down those flaps to get as much air under the wings as possible. You need to pump those engines as hard as you can to get all of those tons of fuel and tons of people and their luggage into the sky. And then when you're up high, you can retract those flaps and let the bird sail through the sky. But you need those flaps down, and you need your gear up. That would help to put the gear up. You could forget, but you'll notice a little difficulty getting up there. You'll be like, what's that extra drag? Oh, fuck, we forgot to put up the... And actually, when you get over about 220 knots, it's going to damage... It could potentially damage the gear. That kind of wind and friction on the gear could actually damage the gear. So you should get it up as soon as possible. The gear, I mean. It sounds like something else. And he reckons it was just a simple pilot error like that. Now, if it was, that could save Boeing, because Boeing, God knows, have had enough kicks to the testicles in the past while, haven't they? And this could be the last one, because God knows this is a really tragic one. That's a lot of people. Really tragic. And we have video of it. That the optics are terrible. It's the first Dreamliner crash, but people might not care. TWA did not survive the Lockerbie disaster. So maybe Boeing won't survive this, and God knows they've had enough flack in the past few years anyway, and conspiracies and whistleblowers and all sorts of stuff. And remember, the door fell out of the fucking plane there last year. People were like, "What?" We're in takeoff, and the door just falls off. They're like, "Oh wow, I can see my house down there." If it turns out to be pilot error, it's horrible because that simple mistake he made cost him his life and everyone around him and people on the ground also. But it could save Boeing. I don't know. Let's see what you guys have to say, because I do have some pilots in the audience as well. My buddy is not going to comment in the chat. Uncle Leo, hello. 787. Sorry, my mistake. 787. Sorry, just a slip of the tongue. 767 it's been around for donkey. 787, the Dreamliner. It's the one with the lower cabin pressure. It has like 16,000 feet cabin pressure, or 6,000 feet cabin pressure instead of 16, something like that. It just means less jet lag when you get off the plane, different kind of pressure in the cabin, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. 787. Thank you, Uncle Leo. And I'm not even an enthusiast. Yeah, look, Cooch is saying as well. Sometimes you say the wrong thing. Like earlier, I was watching all the stuff about Iran and Israel, and how many times did people commenting say Iran instead of Israel by accident, going, well, they can't reach Iran with their aircraft and their missiles very well. What he meant was Israel. It just, sometimes you're thinking ahead, and then the wrong thing comes out of your mouth. Ever happened to you? It's like the old joke of the Freudian slip. Well, the married couple who've been married 35 years, and they're at breakfast having their cereal, and the husband, instead, it's when you say what's on your mind instead of what you're supposed to say. That's a Freudian slip. Instead of saying, pass the sugar, he said, you've ruined my life. DG, I saw a video of the guy dusting himself off. And well, it wasn't dusting himself off. His whole left eye is all gashed. Of course, there's all of that. A lot of people saying, oh, he's blessed and it was God's will. I'm like, that's a terrible thing to say. If it's God's will to save that one guy, then you're inferring it was God's will to kill the other 230. That's not oh, God. Can you guys just stay out of it, please? Scott Wixon, yeah, first ever accident of 787. It's a nice. I've never flown on a 787. My brother has several times, and he loves it because of that pressure thing. It's better for your blood because your blood thickens under higher pressure. That's what they say. You should take a little aspirin and get up and walk around a little. Don't drink alcohol because that thickens your blood, and you might wind up with deep vein thrombosis if you sit there on a long haul flight. People flying to Australia, doing 22 hours to Australia and never really getting up to go to the restroom or walk around or stretch the legs. And they safely arrive in Sydney, grab their bags, walk up the plane, come out. And then as they walk through the airport, just drop dead because there's a blood clot somewhere in their ankle or their thigh, just sitting there from the non-movement and the thickening of the blood. And then it shifts and goes straight to their lungs and boom. When I'm on a flight, I'm basically up walking constantly. I mean, even when I'm sitting down, I'm like doing little exercises with my feet, get the calf muscles going, just something to stay moving, Serving, but at the moment, alarms will be going off. So you're talking about Severin, you're talking about the configuration. So a plane like that, if you're taking off without flaps down at that weight, after you calculated the weight, yes, crazy alarms would go off. The plane would resist rotation, taking off. It would resist. Crazy alarms would go off, like this is the wrong configuration. You cannot take off without the flaps down at least 5, 10% for that takeoff. So when you go to rotate, you pull back on the yoke. If the configuration isn't within the proper brackets, the plane will complain. It will fucking freak out. No, you can't do that. You're not ready to take off yet. Try again, But what I'm saying is possibly, okay, this is all just conjecture. What I'm saying is that the flaps were probably down. The configuration was probably correct. And they took off, and immediately the captain on the left says, gear, and he hits flaps instead of gear. Now you fucked your configuration, and you're only 400 feet in the sky. Had they gotten up to 2,000 feet, they may have been able to correct the error, pulled up the gear, throttled the fuck out of it, and managed to fly their way out of that problem. But they were too low. It all happened way, way too fast. It's just a hypothesis. I mean, it could be something completely different. The guy actually who walked away from it, he's in the hospital. He was saying that he was on the flight, and he said that we kind of just stood still, or you felt like they were standing still. In other words, they were gliding. There was no lift. But he said that he heard the engines really, really rev. So there wasn't a lack of power. It was a lack of lift, which is a different thing. A lack of power can lead to a lack of lift, but a lack of lift may not be anything to do with the other. They're two different things. You can have a shitload of power and not enough lift happening because the wings aren't configured correctly. Steerpike, they found the black box. I know, they found it pretty, it's right there, isn't it? It's not like it dropped in the ocean and now they have to get divers out. They probably found the black box in some kid's bedroom or something. Jesus. How many people died on the ground? Do we even know yet? Yeah, that's gonna be a tragic. Yeah, imagine listening to that. It's the warp. The guy survived as a Final Destination candidate. Yeah. DJ, but the survivor said he heard an explosion. Well, if he heard an explosion, well, there's clearly no explosion or large explosion in the video. If he heard an explosion, it may be electrostatic in the engines, which forces them to do this kind of crazy bang sound and then turn off. But that normally will only happen in one engine. The chances of it happening, because a plane like the 787 can take off with one engine. So can a 777. Most planes can. And they can certainly fly very well even on one engine. For it to happen in both engines, and for some reason the gear, perhaps there it is. Maybe they did have that problem. There's a term for it. I'm not a total expert, okay? I just know a little bit about this stuff. But if that happened to both engines, that may have distracted them from lifting the gear, right? Because you've got your little, routine there, and the gear is going to come up any second. But you can't really hear any of that in the video. Maybe the video starts after that problem happened. But it will cause it's not really a problem because it causes the engine to reboot. It kind of does a large bang or a couple of bangs in sequence, and then the engine just stops and winds down and then starts up again. So it's actually usually, if you hear it on a plane, it's actually usually nothing to worry about. Phonetic duck, loss of hydraulics explains both, not necessarily pilot error. This is great. I love all this. I knew you guys would be all over this stuff. There's a lot of aviation guys in the room because, of course, you like your GMT Rolex watches, right? Greg, there's a whistleblower calling it out now. Well, there's a famous video from last year of a whistleblower saying that the 787 was not was not fully safe, but it had a perfect flight record. So I don't know. Sorry, again, I got it wrong. Scott Wexland, thank you. Corrections. It wasn't TWA, it was Pan Am. Pan Am, get your shit together, O'Malley. Lockerbie was Pan Am, not TWA. What killed TWA in the end? I can't remember. Lockerbie was Pan Am. DG seat 11A. I know that's another thing. A lot of people are like, well, was he in the back, at the very back of the plane? Where there's least impact. But no, he just, listen, it's a total fluke. It's a complete fluke. There's nothing about seat 11. Watch all the seat 11As sell out on flights from now on. No, I mean, he just happened, whichever way the plane had impact and was crushed or whatever in that crazy moment, he just happened to get out unscathed, or practically, combined with the fact that he had the wherewithal to pull his belt off, get up, and climb out of the sprawl of disaster that he was witness to, unfazed, just get the hell out of there and crawl out and walk away. That's crazy. It reminds me of that story years ago of the car crash. The first responders arriving to some car crash out in the States somewhere. It was on a road surrounded by fields. And when they arrived, it was particularly brutal. I think they hit a tree or something on the side of the road, and the driver and the person in the passenger seat were on the road in front of the car. They had gone straight through. They hadn't their seatbelts on. They had gone straight through the windshield and flew out in front of the car. So it was a kind of horrific scene that they arrived to. But then they heard a baby. They heard a baby crying. And they go looking in the field next to the accident, and there was long grass, and there was a baby there without a scratch in him, just crying. So they've worked out that basically what had happened is the baby was in the back, but not properly harnessed. And in that wild moment of impact, the parents in the front went through the windshield, shattering the windshield, and the baby was projected through the broken glass, didn't scrape, went perfectly through the windshield gap without touching any edges, threw it and out into the big, long, soft grass, and landed quite safely onto the grass. Just, sheer luck. The parents, had they had their seatbelts on, perhaps the baby would not have survived because they would have been restrained. Instead, they broke the glass that then the baby flew through. It's just a coincidence, Falky, I am an enthusiast and I didn't catch it. I became alcohol. I don't know. Sorry, guys. I don't mind you correcting me because clearly, certain things come out, brain farts, The Ox. How much work does the pilot actually do? A lot. I mean, I flew with the lads to New York last year, and I had the headphones and everything, so I could listen to all the communications, and it was bloody exhilarating, I have to say. But they did a lot of work. I mean, listen, most of the hard work is takeoff and landing, and I have to say, landing was that was a little terrifying to me because we were coming into JFK. and it's just very busy airspace, and all the planes are trying to get down on the tarmac in a certain window, and if they miss it, then they have to go around, and it's a big mess. And then they may not get the gate that they want because they're already planning which gate they're going to approach, so they might miss the gate, and then there's another plane at the gate, and everybody's sitting on the tarmac, so they get, so they're like, oh, hopefully this goes smoothly. And there was a Virgin Atlantic flight that was screaming at the control tower, we want that slot. I looked out the window to the left, and there's a plane, about 1,000 feet to the left. I'm like, is that those fuckers? I can hear it on the headphones, and the two lads are like, yeah, that's him, motherfucker. We're trying to get this thing landed. It was like, oh my God, I had to have a stiff drink after I got off. Takeoff was much more relaxing. But honestly, when you're in the air, I was shocked. It was clerical work. It was like the two guys were in an office. It was constant writing down, logging things, and every 20 minutes, a new plan if there's an emergency, if something happens to an engine or something like, where's the nearest airport, which one, what are our options. As we approached like Newfoundland and Halifax and those areas, as you come in over North America, they were like, they had plan A and plan B, and they were both for different types of emergency. They're like, well, there's a better hospital in that little town if we have someone in the back who feels sick and they have cardiac issues. That's a better hospital for heart issues in that town, so we'll go there instead. We're constantly planning 4 moves ahead, and that's just protocol. That's what they do. Of course, there's no need. There was never any need, but they have to always have a plan, so that if something does go wrong, I'm not just talking about engine failure or hydraulics failure. I'm talking about mostly somebody getting ill in the back, or a fight happening, or something going wrong that leads them to have to land, or something on the ground where they're told, JFK has a security issue. No one's landing at JFK. Everybody divert. And then they're like, oh, fuck, we have to go somewhere else. Where can we land? If anything happens, they don't want to have to think about what they have to do. They need to already have a couple of plans ready. And co-pilot shows captain, you happy with those? Yeah, I'm happy with those. Great. So if anything in the next 45 minutes happens, they don't have to think, oh, what should we do? They go, okay, plan A or plan B? Plan A. Boom. And they're straight in. I mean, they have a lot of responsibility, these guys, So they were, it was a lot of work. There's a shitload of comments. I knew you guys have a lot to say about this. Now, watch no one say, just stick to watches. Even though I'm not talking about watches at all now. The past half an hour, I've been talking about aviation. But no one's going to say, just stick to watches. Why? Because the guys who say just stick to watches, they don't care about me sticking to watches. They just don't want me to say anything bad about Trump or whatever, politics that they don't agree with. So they just go, ESDG, it's called risk assessment. And it was constant. I mean, the flight's 6 hours, 7 hours, 6.5 hours. But Joe Kennedy as well. I'm a retired pilot, 30 years. You see what I mean? So many pilots in the audience, or people who know about this stuff. Daniel, what's happening to my screen? My screen's freaking out. It's flashing. Wonder, is that heat? Utterly irrelevant, but looking good. Thanks, man. Well, salad every night. I don't eat anything all day. It's just black coffee. And then a nice hearty salad, which I had about an hour before I started the show. And that's it. And very, very little booze. I mean, even tonight, just a little bit of tequila with some watermelon. Just dice up a little watermelon to give it a little flavor. Watermelon for color. And yeah, just taking it easy. The first place I lose it is around here, around the jawline. The chin begins to recede back in. And I don't really have great cheekbones, but I have a line if I get sick, and I'm throwing up and I can't eat for a couple of weeks, whatever, I begin to get like a line here, which kind of looks a bit more healthy. If I'm eating and boozing and indulging, then it all thickens out. So that's the first place I see it. The second place I see it is in my legs and my ass and shit like that. And unfortunately, the gut is always the bloody last to wake up. But actually, it's been good. The other day, the Italians are the most critical people in the world about this shit. They see everything. It's no coincidence that they're all leaders of fashion in the world. But, my mates the other day were like, are you going to have a beer with us? I was like, no, I'll just have a Coke. You guys go ahead and I'll smoke here. Don't mind me. I'll just take a Diet Coke with some lemon and ice. And they're like, oh, yeah, you're slimming up, huh? And they're like, I meno pancia, which is you have less stomach. I'm like, good. Well, if they say it, it's definitely true because those Italians are brutal critical when it comes to things like that. Jim Patterson, the last 10 pounds makes the biggest difference. Well, I noticed what it is. It's always been the same. I lose weight for two reasons. It's either I decide to be more healthy and I take it easy. I don't indulge in anything. There's no, fuck it, I'll have an ice cream. Or none of that. Or no cake. No, I don't eat pasta or bread. I don't like those things much anyway. So that's not really an issue. And I, take it easy on the booze and I stop drinking wine. Wine can be a lot because you're consuming a lot to get drunk. If you have a stiff little whiskey, you can get a little tipsy or a little tequila and you're consuming a lot less. It's stronger in alcohol, but it's a lot less liquid than if you drink a whole bottle of wine, which is something I do a lot in my life. So once I do that, yes, or I get sick. Like when I had COVID really bad in London and I came home and I was basically lying in a bed coughing for 3 weeks. I lost a lot of weight then too, but I noticed what happens is it's not a linear. It doesn't happen in a straight line. You know what I mean? It's not like you lose weight and lose. What happens is you're the same and then you drop. Then one day you just wake up and for some reason you look a pound or two lighter. It just happens in these little increments and then it goes like that and then it drops again. That's the way the body reacts. It doesn't do it like that. So I think a lot of people lose heart after maybe a week or 10 days. They lose heart because they've been healthy and they've been watching everything they're eating and they're taking walks and maybe even running or whatever they're doing. And then they're looking in the mirror and they're like, oh, fuck, nothing, it's not making any difference. But you kind of just have to keep it on. And then eventually it you start to see it make a difference. It takes a little longer than unfortunately we'd like it to take. But putting on weight takes longer than we'd like it to take too. If you have a big sloppy cheeseburger and 15 beers, you're not fatter the next day. It takes time for all of that fat to be deposited. And it would need to be on a regular basis, anyway. Michael Sottle, good show. Thank you, man. $20. Legend. I also got a PayPal from Philip. Like clockwork. Love it. 0 calorie tequila. Tequila is a low calorie drink like vodka, but it's kind of natural sugars and it's not good. It's not like it's good for you. Tequila has a good effect in the sense that if you do get a little tipsy on tequila, you drink a little tequila, and you don't drink anything else that evening, you don't mix it with anything, you will wake up feeling fine. There won't be any hangover. Tequila doesn't really, unless you hit a whole bottle of tequila, which I've done with friends. Even fine tequila. If you're just having a couple of tequilas as a sipper, Blanco, Añejo, Reposado, whatever you're having, and you're just sipping it with ice, it's just simple, pure, and you're not throwing beers down in between each one. And you're certainly not mixing wine, because that's something you should never, ever, ever do. Never put tequila and red wine in the same belly, because it's all coming back up, folks. If you just stick to tequila, and hey, the margaritas are great because of the lime juice as well. It's great for your skin, all that vitamin C. It's kind of a clean... First of all, it gives you a nice happy buzz. Tequila is a happy drink. You're not going to get into a fight or an argument on tequila. You will on vodka, and you will on gin. Gin puts people in a bad mood and makes them weird. Vodka makes people aggressive. It's like cocaine. Beer makes people fuzzy. Wine makes people kind of laughy and giddy, but it can also make them grumpy. Depending on what your mood is going into the drinking session. But I've yet to meet a guy who's aggressive and disagreeable on tequila. It's just, it's kind of an upper. It's a happy drink. And yes, if you drink it in moderation and maybe finish with a glass of water before you go to bed, you will wake up as if you weren't drinking. You'll wake up very, very clear. Out of all the hard booze in the world, I think it's probably one of the best. Jim, whiskey turns me into a madman. Yeah, it has different effects on different people too. Whiskey doesn't have that effect on me. Mind you, you drink enough of anything, and you get a little crazy. Separate tequila margarita should be prescribed on National Health. You guys are funny. Diet is the most important thing when trying to lose weight mid-land drum sessions. That's true too. You can get out and start running, you can go to the gym and start lifting weights, but it's going to make you mad hungry, and you'll start craving things, and you might actually up your calorie intake because of it. You come home from the gym and you can't get to the food fast enough because your body is like, come on, give me nourishment. It's difficult to go on a calorie deficit when you're working out heavily, because that's extra torture. You know what I mean? Let me switch the watch out. Whereas if you take it easy, you don't want to sit on your ass all day. You want to get out and walk, just anything. Just walk to the supermarket, whatever. Move the legs a little. You don't have to go run 6 miles or anything. But if you really, really reduce the eating, the calorie, first of all, your stomach starts closing up. And you're like, earlier I made this nice salad. I don't make little skimpy salads. I make nice hearty salads, I don't pour fucking ranch dressing or anything like that, mayonnaise or anything on it. I don't do that. It's a fairly lean salad, but it's a big one. And I was only able to get through half. I put the rest in the fridge. Maybe I'll come back to it later. A guy like me, that means my stomach has shrunken in the past couple of weeks. So you're satisfied with less food. And we men, like most of us, are over 30, over 40. We don't need all of that nourishment, When you're in your 20s, you snort food through your nose. You're just, your late teens, you're constantly hungry. You just want to put food in your mouth like crazy. You're insatiable. You can't. There's no satisfaction possible. But at our age, that our metabolisms have slowed down, and we've done all the growing we're supposed to do. We don't need that much food. We probably all, especially in the West, we probably all eat about 3 or 4 times more than our body actually needs, in fairness. Then there's the guilt of not finishing the plate, right? You make a nice dinner, you make a nice meal, or you go to a restaurant, you're paying top dollar for it, and you feel like you got to finish. Somehow the end of that plate, finishing that plate, turns out to be exactly the amount of nourishment your body needed. No, you just had to stop because there was nothing left on the plate, but you kept going and going, even though you weren't really hungry anymore. You guys know all this stuff. It's easier said than done because we love our food, right? It's one of the few pleasures we've got. But yeah. Hey, listen. Happy Buzz. Give me that tuna and onion. Oh yeah. I haven't been putting onion in my salads. Maybe I'll do that. That's a good idea. I've been putting in some chickpeas, little corn. Corn is sweet, so you got to be careful. It's sugar in that stuff, but it does lighten up the salad. I use arugula, as they say in America, or rocket, as they say in Britain. That's my favorite green. So I just can do a big bed of arugula. I just love it. I don't care. And then maybe a boiled egg, which is quite nice. And some tuna. Or yesterday I put on some slices of steak. Grand. Pepper out the wazoo. Little curry powder there on top just to give a little bit of. Next thing you have this. I also have some olive oil, peperoncino, the olio picante, the spicy oil, and a couple of drops on there just to give it a little bit of a kick. But no, I mean, you can turn a salad into a very fattening thing if you add enough shit. Like if you smother that in olive oil, or meanwhile, olive oil is very healthy, but it is essentially fat, so you got to be careful. Or you put fucking ranch all over that shit. You may as well just have a cheeseburger. What the fuck are you doing? The whole point of the salad is for it to be a light thing. DG, now I'm hungry. Stealth Tech. Breakfast smoothie, banana, yogurt, oats, a probiotic, frozen fruit, nuts, cranberry juice, blitz, all done. Wow. That's nice, but it sounds like a lot of sugar. And sugar is trouble. I slipped up today because this morning it was quite hot out, and I went to a nearby cafe and they make me a nice big iced coffee. And I just saw all the fruit. They were doing their smoothies, and they make, orange juice with lemons. And they crush a bunch of oranges and a bunch of lemons, and they make this. And it's delicious, and it helped me through my last bout of the flu or whatever the hell I had back at Christmas. I was just coughing for like a month and a half straight. And it was cold, and all of that vitamin C, just pounding vitamin C into me, really, really helped. But it's quite sugary. You're ingesting a lot of sugar at the same time, which means now your body can just eat that sugar. So if you eat anything solid, you have a steak, it doesn't need to use that because it's already got all the energy from the sugar. So now you've just turned the rest of everything else you eat into fat deposits or whatever. Heading home for Dirk's show, women with hair on top lip, hair on top lip, beware. I see. Yeah, you don't want to talk to the lady at the bar with a mustache. She should know how to groom a little bit. Otherwise, it's a red flag. Just a little. Yeah, we'll be going over to Dirk fairly soon. I'm going to try on one more watch. One more bracelet. It's battle not of the watches, but of the bracelets. What do you think? I'm just making sure I have my redirect for dark. There it is. Done. Yes, the Seiko. Jim Patterson, thank you for reminding me. I'm going to pull a fast one on you guys. First of all, let me put on the last. What did I do? 4 watches. I did the Omega Speedy with the 1450 Holy Grail. Then the Caranardo with that big light box of a bracelet. That thing. That fucking chunk of beautiful steel. It's gorgeous. It's a beautiful watch. Then there was the Frollo, my watch. Big summary, invincible, indestructible watch. And now I'll put on, and it's bracelets. We're not thinking watch, we're thinking bracelets. And then we'll put on the final one. And this one will probably win. Dun, dun, dun. So if you thought the Speedy was the best, type 1. If you thought the Caranardo was the best, type 2 in the chat. If you thought the Frollo was the best, type 3. And if you think this one was the best bracelet, type 4. That's fun. Happy Buzz likes 2. He likes the Caranardo. It's impressive. It's very kind of AP-esque, the way it dances with the light, I have to say. DJ4, no competition, back to 84. Yeah, everybody's saying 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. Nick likes the Speedy bracelet. Andrew likes the Caranardo. James likes the Speedy. Robert, of course. We all know that the AP is going to rule. Eric is like, yeah, I knew that was going to happen. Yeah, I know, guys. You're right. You're right. But it's great to see absolutely no one vote for 3. No, I didn't expect it. It's not that impressive a bracelet when it's up next to these things. So that's fine. So I'm going to do something cruel. I have the Seiko. It came the other day, and the seller was Long Island Watch, Mark. Long Island Watch. You know, Mark with his channel. He was the chap I bought it from. This is his website, longislandwatch.com. I'm sure you know him from Long Island Watch channel on YouTube. It's been around for years. He does Seikos and Belovas and Scales and Orient. Affordable, good stuff. There he is. There's Mark. He was on my show. He was on my SWAT show maybe 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. Sweetest guy ever. Lovely fella. And I reached out to him. I was like, hey, man, I'm looking at one of your watches on your website, and I can't get it over here on this side of the pond. And he goes, oh, sure. Yeah, man. How's it going? I haven't spoken to you in ages. He's like, sure, man, go ahead. He said he shot me a code for a discount, a nice hefty discount. He says, use this so you get a nice discount on checkout. And I chose, there were shipping options. One was $120 or something for fast shipping, but the watch wasn't that expensive. So I was like, oh, that's kind of, I mean, if it was a really expensive watch, you'd pay the $120. But, you know, adding the $120 to the price of this watch, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to do that. So I just went for regular shipping. And that was a mistake because it went, as you all know, it fucking went missing. It's still missing. So I reached out to him during the week. I said, listen, I didn't want to bother you or be that pest constantly asking, where's the watch? Where's the watch? But I said, it's been a while now. It's been like 7 or 8 weeks. And he goes, oh my God, you should have let me know sooner. I was like, man. So he sorry, I'm doing something double tasking here, multitasking. So he said, oh Jesus, like let me get one in the mail straight away for you. He's like, forget that one, it's probably lost in the mail system. And he goes, and if it ever shows up, you can do whatever you want with it. It doesn't matter, it's technically lost now. So he sent one out express, and it got here like a couple of days later. But I'm going to do something cruel. I am going to put it on my Instagram. It has not been seen anywhere, the YouTube or the Instagram yet. I'm going to put it on the Instagram right now, and I'm going to make you guys go over to Instagram. The new Seiko, there's a bunch of photos and even a little video. Because I know you fuckers don't. I've been trying to build up my Instagram from the beginning, from the ground up. So it's Oisin O'Malley _channel. You go into Instagram, search for Oisin O'Malley _channel, and that'll bring you over, and then you can see it. Now I've posted it. It's posting. See, Araya, Instagram's for kids. Caught you. Well, you don't get to see new Seiko. Fuck you. No, because like it's not for kids. Kids use it. Everyone uses it. There's lots of stuff on there. There's art channels. There's music. People talking about great music. There's great watch stuff. Great watch content. Some of the best watch content in the world is on Instagram. They don't even have a YouTube channel. Listen, I was reluctant to. I held off to. I did the same with TikTok, and honestly regret that one more because TikTok, as it turns out, is fucking amazing. And you just got to get with it, you know. You just got to get with it. Just fucking get on it. You don't have to use it to say, you don't have to do selfies like everyone else does. You don't have to follow all the little girlies in their skirts, although you probably will end up doing that. And you just use it for your own thing, or just follow me. Let me be the only channel you follow on Instagram. How do I share my Instagram? Instagram. No, because my other Instagram got banned. God damn it. And I had to start all over again. I had a massive one. And I had to start all over again. Share that and put it in the chat. Copy link. There you go. I'll put a link in the chat. That'll make it easy for you. And sign up to goddamn Instagram, because that's where you'll get daily updates. If I disappear, if there's anything going on in the channel, if there's a rumor, what happened to Oisin? Is he sick? Is he? We haven't seen him post anything. You can find me over there, and I do daily posts of wrist checks and where I'm out in Venice every single day. I do a photo or a video or a little montage to kind of keep people up to speed. I also let people know what I think about what's happening in the world. And I share my opinion and all, which is probably the reason my other one got banned in the first place. Maybe not. I don't know. But it's a kind of a daily way to keep. That way you're not sitting around till Friday to hear from me, or sitting around waiting for a new video to drop. You can have your little inject on a daily basis, and you can make comments. You can send me questions. You go, hey, I want to buy a Speedy. I don't know which one to get. What was the one you had in your wrist on Friday? Can you send me the thing? And I reply to most of them. You know, I do my best. There are many, many advantages. There is the link in the chat. My Instagram, my new one is so tiny. It's actually an old one. I have 1,427. I had 88,000 followers on the other one. Shit like this just happens sometimes. Get on there and give me a follow if you want to see the new Seiko. I've made it difficult for you. It's gorgeous. I love it. And somebody earlier said 2 for 1. Yeah, I mean, if I eventually if the other one eventually, it's at a sorting center somewhere here in Italy. It's just been stuck there for weeks. If it's eventually released and delivered, yes, I'll get a free one. I'll do a giveaway on the channel. I'll give it away for free because it didn't cost me anything. I offered Mark. I said, listen, I'll pay for the second one. It's okay. You know, if I get them both, I don't mind having paid for them. It's a good price. You gave me a nice discount. And you know, it's not going to break the bank. It's, you know, it's a relatively affordable, very affordable watch. And I don't mind having two. I'll do a giveaway on the channel. But he was like, no, don't worry. You know, that other one is technically lost. I'm giving you the other one free of charge. Jim Patterson, it's on some postal clerk's wrist. It could very possibly be. The regular postal system here is not great. You've got to use DHL or something like that because they have to be held accountable, you know. Whereas the Post Italia or whatever it's called, excuse me, is garbage, you know. Travis, nice Seiko. Actually, I love the dial. Isn't it very? It's a very interesting dial, isn't it? Joe LaFaro, the girl in the red dress, isn't bad either. Yeah, she was very distracting. You see, this is all the entertainment that you can get. You know, it's like daily little fun bits. I was just sitting at a cafe there trying to enjoy a coffee and staying off the booze. You know, the guys come over to me. They know me well. They're like, your usual, sir, you know, which is usually a spritz, depending on the hour. And I'm like, no, I'll take a cafe shakerata, which is just an espresso shaken in ice. It's a lovely way to have coffee during the hot weather here. No sugar. I never put sugar on coffee anyway. It covers the real taste of the coffee. And a Diet Coke, please, you know, and I light up a smoke. 0 calories. There's no calories in these things. And then along she came, and there's all these photographers. It was a modeling shoot, and I was like, oh my dear God, a blonde in a red dress. I have a weakness, fellas. I have a weakness. But I took a little video because then she would pass me. She was in the middle of the piazza. I was like, dear sweet God, what is that angel? And then she passed me. She must have been 5'10", 5'11". And all the photographers like chasing her, telling her to turn around and do poses. And then she walked behind me under the arches, and I was like, I'm gonna take some footage for the boys on Instagram. Dirty devils. It just goes to show, though, the crowd on TikTok are so different. Because I posted it also on TikTok, and people were like, that's so disrespectful. I'm like, oh God, you guys. I'm going back over to Instagram. Fuck you lot. Like to see from the Matrix, the girl in the red dress. Yeah. Yeah, it's a beauty. Let me see if I got more followers. You know, sometimes I have to give you guys a shove. Bloody shove. You're like, oh, you mentioned that Instagram thing again. I'm not doing that. That's what happens when your audience is over 40. Mind you, I had a massive following before, but whatever. 1436. It's gone up. Good. It's more like it. What do you guys think of it? Sexy, yeah? Look at that strap. And I love the way the hour hand looks like a GMT hand. I don't know why I love that. That's a summer watch right there, guys. That's going with me to the beach for sure. I don't think I can take the Carinardo anymore because I think that chap earlier in the chat wants to buy it. I better keep it in perfect condition. DJ, why did the old account get banned? Well, about, I don't know, a year ago, my account got banned. I got a notice going, your account has been deactivated. You can appeal here. So I immediately said, appeal. And within an hour, I had it back. And when they give it back to you, when they reactivate it with the appeal, they tell you why you were banned in the first place. If they never give it back to you, you never know why you were banned. But when they give it back to you, they explain what happened. And they said that I was not making original content because I had a nasty habit of seeing other people's stuff and reposting it. There's a repost button. When you enjoy someone's video, you can repost it. But most of my feed that I was sending to my audience were reposts of other people's stuff. I was thinking, oh, maybe it's the Zios, right? They're after me, right? Fucking unbearable bunch. They're after me. And they're trying to flag me for terrorism or whatever fucking nonsense, childish horseshit that's going through their stupid minds. I thought it was maybe something like that. Or maybe the fact that sometimes, people write to me insulting me and I either ignore it or I tell them they're a cunt. I don't hold back. I'll be like, oh, fucking hell. And I get pretty insulting. And then I get warnings, saying, oh, please keep things civil and don't use language and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. So I thought maybe it was something like that, but it actually wasn't. It was a technical thing. They're like, we encourage you to post your own content. I was like, oh, fuck. All right. Shit. And I don't think I really did. I don't think I paid much heed to it or enough heed to it. And when I went to Ireland last year on my way to New York, I was lying in bed one night and I got the thing said, oh, we've deactivated your account because of policy violations or something, whatever the thing. They just say a general thing. They don't give a specific. And I appealed it again and I lost the appeal this time. They said, you have lost the appeal. Your account will no longer be. I was like, Jesus Christ. Honestly, it wasn't the following. It was that bothered me. It was the all my contacts in there. There's a lot of people I spoke to through Instagram only. And we'd have full conversations. Some people might reach out to me saying, hey, I'd love to buy that watch you had on your wrist on the last live or last episode. Are you interested in selling it? And we get talking or somebody who needs advice. I get every single day. People are like, hey, I'm between a sea dweller and a deep sea. Which one would you buy? There's a lot of those kind of questions. And then there's people going, hey, I'm coming to town. I'm a long time viewer. I'm coming through Venice with the wife. Love to buy you a drink if you're around, and I can't always make it, but sometimes I do reply and go, sure, and then wind up making friends. So there's all these contacts that now I can't reach anymore, that was the bummer. That was the big bummer. And I just had to start. I had another Instagram, an older one that was sitting there with a few hundred followers. And I said, okay, I'll just start using this one and posting. I'll just do my best to post as many kind of my video pictures of me with a watch, pictures of the wrist of the watch, pictures of other things that I find interesting, but bring my own content and maybe that'll keep them happy, So, I might sneeze. Ooh. Yes. A little bit of smoke got in the nostril. Oh, stop. If I sneeze twice, I'll sneeze 40 times. It's the second one you have to stop. Okay. Ray, 10 euros. Why did you send me 10 euros? Aren't you going over to Dirkus Maximus? Thanks very much, man. Is it because I inspired you to download Instagram to your phone? Finally. Gesundheit. Bless you. Thanks, fellas. Arugula. Jim Patterson. That's funny. I knew someone would. I'm surprised no one asked me before, but maybe they did, and I was ranting. What are your thoughts on the new Tudor with the flamingo blue dial? It's a girl's watch, and most of the pictures are females. I like this one with the girl has the watch facing inward, which I thought was kind of cool. The photo is like this. Yeah, it's a Black Bay 54, right? It's a 37 mil. It's not for my wrist. I like the color. It's a nice summer watch. And she had the watch like that. She had it kind of on the underside of the wrist. That feels weird. Yeah, it's nice summer color. But honestly, if you're a bigger chap and you want that same summer blast, you should just go over to oshinamalichannel.com and buy yourself a gorgeous, indestructible sapphire crystal, 300 meters water resistant, screw down crown at the 4 positions, so you can do your yachting and your rowing. A closed case back, connected to Venice in every possible way. Frollo family, 4 or 5 generations in jewelry here in the Isola, in the island. And of course, the lovely Ferro di Prua on the dial. When that thing looms up, it looks amazing. Very proud of it. And you get the other straps for free. I like the new Tudor. I like it. I like how reflective it is. I like the bezel. Bezel looks like whatever color you're wearing, because when you look at it, it reflects the color back off you. It's like Breitling watches. They appear to be whatever color is in the room around you because they're kind of mirrors. So I guess we'll go over to Dirk. I'm working on a video on the Chiara Nardo and the Cartier. I have some incredible shots of both watches. And I do an unboxing and I do a walkabout. One of my old-fashioned walkabouts, and I go to the supermarket and I show you guys the price of eggs and the price of booze and all of that. So because you guys are very curious about that stuff, and I can't really live stream inside the supermarket because I lose the signal. So instead, I went in with a regular camera and did a little bit of a, So there's a walkabout, and then there's the watches, the unboxing. It's going to be a nice 30 minutes, 40 minutes, sit back with a bottle, crack open a beer or something, and enjoy a little bit of Venice, nice shots, gorgeous watches, bit of music in the background, and so on. Old school, old style for the channel. Phil Bauer, evening, sir. What do you think of the Bell & Ross diver with the outline loomed dial? I do not know it, but let me look it up. Do you have a reference? Seeing as you sent me 5 sterling, Bell and Ross. Do you have a reference? Official website. Is it their new watch? Would it be on their... By the way, go over to Mark at Long Island Watch if you want that Seiko. And I'll tell you what, guys, for anybody who didn't get Instagram, I'm going to go over to Dirk's show now. Okay, the Eye Bashers. Some of you will be bumped over automatically. If not, I'll put in the link in the chat in a minute, and I'll show it on that show. Okay, so if you come over to Dirk and support the Eye Bashers and give him a subscribe, you'll get to see the Seiko. How about that? Or you can just go see it directly yourself if you get on Instagram. You see, you got to pay for your lunch. Bell and Ross. Let me quickly look at this. Is this the one? Oh, that's nice. This new diver thing. It's all loomy. That the one? It looks nice. I was never a big fan of Bell and Ross, but I do respect them. That must be it. Yeah, that's it. That's a loom monster. Yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right. Barefoot and in sandals. I think there's a shot in there and I'm barefoot. I might get tanned. I have to get my feet and ankles looking good for next week. Should be doing all the styling. Oh yeah, I also visit a tailor here in Venice in the Walkabout. So I'll be excited to post that video. Because I bring some pants from a couple of suits, new suits that need, to be hemmed or whatever you call it. Need the ankles pulled up a little bit. All right, let me see if Dirk is live. And if he is, we'll go over there and I'll show the Seiko over there, okay? Or if you don't like Dirk for some reason, which is kind of crazy, but if you don't, you can just see it on Instagram. And there's so much more to be found over there on Instagram. All right, guys, good talk. Let's hope World War III doesn't break out. Let's hope. Oh, man, there's more missiles coming down. Air raid sirens. Oh, fuck. Let me share that over. God damn it. Are there more coming down? Yeah, let's hope. Let's hope they don't escalate. And then, like Russia at the UN Assembly earlier weren't very nice, and they were for Israel at all. And so Russia might go, fuck it, we're in with the Iranians. And the fucking Chinese might jump in on that too. You never know. And now we have World War III. Jesus, Trump was supposed to be de-escalating wars. Instead, clearly he can't put Bibi on a leash at all. Uncontrollable. He hasn't done a fucking thing for Ukraine. Gaza's still getting fucking leveled. Taco, right? That's what they call him, right? Oh, full of hot air and then no substance in the end. What a shocker. Who's surprised in the room? All right, let's go over to Dirk. We'll give you the link right now in the chat. We'll have a chat with Dirk. And I'll show you guys the Seiko over there. We'll have a good talk. There's the link. Thanks, guys. Taco. I heard some cool before I leave you. I heard they're calling Melania Taco Bell. There's a ton of names they have now. We love that shit, right? They come at us with their TDS thing, they get their little slogan together. And then we're like, yeah, you want slogans? Hold my beer, motherfuckers. A bunch of knuckle draggers up against the intellectuals. They don't sound a fucking shots. God help them. They're cute though, aren't they? Very cute. All right, guys. We'll see you guys next week, and hopefully I'll get that nice walkabout and unboxing out over the weekend. So I'll see you guys very soon. In fact, I'll see you guys in 5 seconds over on the iBashers. The link is right there in the chat. And some of you will be bumped over. See you soon.